The Ironclad's debriefing room was a cold, sterile space, its metallic walls reflecting the dim light and the somber mood of the crew gathered within. The air was thick with the weight of loss, the echoes of Thasset Station's destruction still ringing in their ears. 11 billion lives snuffed out in an instant, a number too vast to fully grasp, yet it pressed down on them all the same. Sarge stood at the head of the table, his broad shoulders squared, his face etched with lines of exhaustion and resolve. Across from him sat Lieutenant Thorne, her piercing gaze fixed on him as she awaited his report. Joker slouched in a chair to her left, his usual grin replaced by a tight-lipped frown, while Newbie fidgeted nervously beside him, still pale from what they'd witnessed. Techie, ever the restless one, tapped at a data pad, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Start from the beginning, Sarge," Lieutenant Thorne said, her voice calm but firm, cutting through the heavy silence. "What happened out there?" Sarge took a deep breath, his hands clasped behind his back as he began. "We picked up a distress signal from Thasset Station at 0430 hours. Standard protocol, assumed it was a malfunction or pirate raid. We moved in to assist. But when we got there," he paused, his jaw tightening. "It was a trap. The Kokavim Ratsak had rigged the whole damn place. A false signal to lure us in. The signal source was an asteroid 500,000 kilometers out. So we investigated. Before we could react, the station blew. We barely got the Vigilant clear in time. We were lucky we found the source of power for that quantum disruption beacon." The room was silent for a moment, the memory of that blinding explosion flashing in their minds. Thasset Station disintegrating into a cloud of debris and fire, a gaping wound in the galaxy's fabric. Newbie swallowed hard, his hands trembling slightly, while Joker stared at the table, lost in thought. Lieutenant Thorne leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Anything else? Any signals? Any warnings?" Sarge nodded curtly. "Nothing worth mentioning. Just the distress call, and then chaos." Techie's head snapped up from his data pad, his voice sharp with urgency. "That's not true, Sarge. There was that transmission right before we jumped. It was garbled, but I caught pieces of it. Something about a bomb and a name. Ambry, maybe Amber. It wasn't just static." Sarge's eyes flashed with irritation, his voice dropping to a low growl. "It was noise, Techie, a glitch in the system. We don't have time to waste on your fucking wild goose chases." "It wasn't noise," Techie shot back, slamming his data pad onto the table. "I've been cleaning it up, and there's something there. Something real. If it's about a bomb, we need to know. 11 billion people are dead, Sarge, and you're dismissing evidence that could tell us why." "Evidence?" Sarge barked, stepping closer to Techie, his fists clenched. "You've got a hunch, not evidence. You think you can piece together some scramble signal and solve this? We were there, Techie. I saw it blow. It was the Gabati, plain and simple. We don't need your conspiracy theories muddying the water." "It's not a theory if it's on the damn recording," Techie shouted, rising to his feet. "You're just too stubborn to listen. What if it wasn't just the Gabati? What if there's more to this?" Lieutenant Thorne raised a hand, her tone cutting through the rising tension. "That's enough, both of you. Sit down, Techie." Techie glared at Sarge but obeyed, dropping back into his seat with a huff. Sarge, however, was beyond calming. His chest heaved, his face flushed with anger, and something deeper. Fear, perhaps, or guilt. "You want to play detective? Fine," he snapped. "But I'm done here. I've got better things to do than argue over static." With that, he turned on his heel and stormed out, the door sliding shut behind him with a hiss. The remaining crew sat in stunned silence, the echoes of the argument lingering. Lieutenant Thorne sighed, rubbing her temples. "He's taking this hard," she said quietly, "but we need to figure out what's next. Let's take this to the captain." Sarge's quarters were a stark contrast to the chaos of the debriefing room. Small, dimly lit, and eerily quiet. He slammed the door behind him, the sound reverberating off the metal walls as he began to pace. His boots thudded against the floor, a restless rhythm that matched the storm in his mind. Thacet's destruction played on a loop in his head. The flash of light, the shockwave, the void where a bustling station had once been. But it wasn't just the loss that gnawed at him. It was Techie's words, that damn transmission, stirring up memories he'd rather keep buried. He stopped pacing and leaned against the wall, running a hand through his cropped hair. His sister's voice crept into his thoughts. Dr. Elara Voss, brilliant and relentless, her theories spilling out over late-night calls. "Human bombs, Harlan," she'd said once, her eyes alight with conviction. "People turned into weapons, implants wired to detonate. It's not science fiction, it's real, and someone's going to use it." He'd laughed her off back then, called her paranoid, a dreamer lost in her lab. But now, what if she'd been right? What if Thacet wasn't just a Gabati scheme? What if those 11 billion lives were the proof of her nightmare? The thought made his stomach churn. He sank onto his bunk, staring at the ceiling as doubt and guilt warred within him. If human bombs were real, what did that mean for their mission? For the galaxy? And why couldn't he face it? Why had he lashed out at Techie instead of listening? He didn't have answers, only questions that piled up like debris in Thacet's wake. Back on the Ironclad's command deck, Lieutenant Thorne led Joker, Newbie, and Techie into the captain's quarters. The captain, a grizzled man with a salt and pepper beard and a voice like gravel, looked up from his desk, his expression weary but attentive. "Trouble in the ranks?" he asked, noting the tension in their faces. Thorne nodded. "Sergeant Voss walked out of the debriefing. He's not handling this well." Joker crossed his arms, his tone subdued. "He's shutting down. Won't even hear Techie out about that transmission. It's like he's afraid of what it might mean." Techie clutched his data pad, his frustration spilling over. "He's refusing to see the truth. That signal could be the key to understanding what happened, but he's too damn stubborn. I get that he's hurting. We all are. But we can't ignore this." Newbie, speaking up for the first time, added quietly, "He's been off since we saw the station go up. I think he blames himself somehow." The captain leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Sarge is a rock, but even rocks crack under pressure. He needs time, but we don't have the luxury of waiting. Techie, keep working on that transmission. Get me something concrete. We're not chasing shadows, but we can't bury our heads either." He paused, his gaze shifting to the star chart on his desk. "We're setting course for a Gabati outpost, a small one off the trade lanes. Neutral ground, full of information brokers. If there's anything to know about Thacet or these bombs, they'll have it." Thorne nodded approvingly. "Good call, sir. We'll keep an eye on Voss, too." The captain grunted. "Do that. We're a crew, not a collection of lone wolves. He'll come around, or we'll drag him back." Later that evening, the Ironclad's bar was a quiet refuge, its low lights casting long shadows across the room. Sarge sat alone at the counter, a half-empty glass of Martian whiskey in hand, staring into the amber liquid as if it held answers. The door slid open and Joker stepped in, his boots scuffing against the floor. Without a word, he slid onto the stool beside Sarge and signaled the bartender for a drink. "Rough day, huh?" Joker asked, breaking the silence. Sarge snorted, taking a sip. Understatement of the fucking century, man. Joker studied him for a moment, then leaned forward, his voice low and earnest. You know, Sarge, we're all messed up over Thacet. But you don't have to carry it alone. Techie's not the enemy. He's just trying to make sense of it, same as you. Sarge's grip tightened on his glass, his knuckles whitening. He's digging into something I don't want to face. That transmission, what if it's real? What if my sister was right? Joker raised an eyebrow. Your sister? Dr. Ilara Voss, Sarge said, his voice rough. She's a scientist obsessed with this idea of planetary weapons. She studied the first and second encounters for years, and she'd bury herself in her studies. Always talking about human bombs, people rigged to blow like walking weapons. I told her she was crazy, but now... He trailed off, shaking his head. If she's right, Joker, then Thacet wasn't just a trap. It was a warning. Joker took a slow sip of his drink, processing the weight of Sarge's words. Then we need to know, and Techie's the best shot we've got at figuring it out. You can't keep pushing him away. We're a team, Sarge, through the ugly stuff too. Sarge stared at him, the fight draining out of him. Joker was right. Running from the truth wouldn't change it. He sighed, setting his glass down. I owe him an apology, don't I? Joker grinned, a flicker of his old self returning. Yeah, you do. But he'll forgive you. Techie's a softy under all that gear. An hour later, Sarge found Techie in the tech lab, hunched over his console, the faint hum of machinery filling the air. Sarge cleared his throat, and Techie glanced up, surprise flickering across his face. Hey, Sarge said, his tone gruff but genuine. I was an ass earlier. You're just doing your job, and I shouldn't have shut you down. I'm sorry. Techie blinked, then offered a small, relieved smile. It's okay, Sarge. We're all on edge. I just want to help. Sarge extended a hand and Techie shook it, the tension between them dissolving. Keep it that transmission, Sarge added. If there's something there, I want to know. Will do, Techie replied, already turning back to his work with renewed focus. As they left the lab together, the ironclad's engines hummed beneath their feet, carrying them toward the Gabati outpost on the captain's orders, a speck of hope in the vast, uncertain dark. Far from the ironclad, in a shadowed chamber atop a towering corporate spire, the 12 members of the BGC Board of Directors gathered. Their identities were concealed behind holographic masks, their voices warped by distortion tech, but their authority was palpable. They encircled a sleek obsidian table, their gazes locked on a massive screen that loomed over the room. The screen crackled to life, revealing a secret transmission from the Cartographers Guild, an exclusive feed for their highest bidders, the BGC among them. The transmission began with a shaky, illicit recording, Lieutenant Gouldine's clipped orders slicing through static, followed by a piercing scream, Ambree's, as her life was snuffed out. Then came Amber and Carvin's hushed voices, raw and unguarded. The implants worked. Ambree's gone, but the other one's still out there. These human bombs can take out whole planets. A cloaked figure appeared next, their voice scrambled into an eerie monotone. This is the prize, evidence of the APCF's human bombs, living weapons disguised as civilians. Bid high, and you claim the recording and the coordinates of the remaining bomb. The screen faded to black, and the chamber buzzed with tension. A director, their mask a rippling void, broke the silence. The APCFs sunk lower than we expected, turning people into walking cataclysms, but the galaxy's already pinning Thacet on us. Another director, their voice a venomous rasp, leaned in. They're not entirely wrong. our planet Wrecker 6 hit Thasset Station, wiped out 250 million before the cataclysm, saw the quantum disruption beacon as an opportunity to capture the trade hub for our own devices. But it was their rogue move, not ours. Most of the Et fleets had no clue. They'd spit in our faces if they knew. Not to mention the fact that deployment of the planet Wrecker 6 is supposed to be confidential. A third director, their mask glowing with jagged crimson streaks, slammed a fist on the table. Foreign governments are smelling blood. They think we butchered those civilians on purpose, and they're itching to use it against us. Sanctions, blockades, maybe war. The APCF's fanning the flames, calling us the galaxy's monsters. The Void masked director's tone hardened. Then we rewrite the story. We snag the Gimbal family's bomb, broadcast the APCF's dirty secret human bombs, and let the galaxy turn on them. We're not the villains if they're the ones weaponizing children. A fourth director, their mask a cold silver lattice, spoke with measured calm. But we can't let our own people catch wind of the truth. The Et fleets think we're the galaxy's shield, honest protectors. If they learn about the planet Wreckers, about what those sects did at Thasset, we'll have a rebellion before the APCF can even fire a shot. The rasping director nodded grimly. Secrecy's our lifeline. The sects stay buried. Let the galaxy scream about Thasset. Hell, let them hate us. We'll use that chaos to hunt the bomb and flip the table on the APCF. A fifth director, their mask swirling with dark tendrils, added, "And if the APCF's bold enough to make 2 of these bombs, they've got more. Hundreds, maybe thousands. An army of human disasters waiting to blow. We need that bomb. Crack its tech, turn it against them, or at least know how to stop it." The Crimson Mask director's voice dropped. Urgent. Thousands. If they've got that kind of arsenal, they could hold every economic center across the galaxy hostage. The political arena's our battlefield now. We expose them, we survive. They expose us, we're done. The Void Mask director straightened, decisive. Then we move. Every asset, spies, pirates, mercenaries, goes after the Gimbal family in pirate space. We leak this recording, twist it to damn the APCF. Let the galaxy's outrage burn them instead of us. The Silver Mask director cautioned, subtlety's key. Push too hard, and the APCF strikes back before we're ready. But if we play this right, capture the bomb, unveil their program, we come out as the lesser evil. The dark tendril director's mask pulsed faintly. And if we can't take it, we destroy it. No one gets that power if we can't. But if we master it, we don't just defend ourselves, we dominate. Silence settled over the chamber, thick with unspoken schemes. The transmission looped faintly in the background, Ambry's scream echoing like a ghost. The BGC stood at a crossroads, vilified by the galaxy for Thasset and Terra, yet poised to unmask the APCF's atrocities. In this cold war of shadows, where human bombs blurred the line between victim and weapon, good and evil dissolved into a haze of survival.